Hey, it's Stace here, and today I thought I would do a little video that I'm going to put in the category of fearless painting. I bought some paints a couple of years ago, a set of gouache paints that are kind of a mixture of sort of acrylic and watercolor, and I don't even know why I bought them. On a whim, probably. I am not really somebody who does a lot of painting, and the whole thing kind of makes me feel a little anxious. And so they sat in the closet for a long time. The other day I saw them and I thought I need to pull them out and confront my anxiety. So today I'm going to work with my nemesis, my gouache paints. So come along and, bring your own paints, whether they're watercolors or acrylics or whatever you want. But let's do a little painting fun and kind of tackle the anxiety that can come with the whole idea of painting. So here we go. Okay, so these are my gouache paints, and it's Gouache. Like, who would really know how to say that? I literally had to get onto Google the other day and just be like, tell me how to say that. But this is what they look like. They come with these little plastic covers that you have to peel off. That was kind of tricky for me. I had paint everywhere, all over me, and I kind of felt like the paints were winning right then, but I got it all off. They need to each be sort of mixed up, but I figure I'll do that when I kind of get into them. So these are the paints. These supposedly are kind of like they sort of seem like acrylics, like you could um, maybe like a watery acrylic and kind of put it on a little bit thicker and kind of keep layering it. Or you could kind of use them like a watercolor. So I like that because I feel more comfortable with watercolors. They just kind of do what they're going to do. I feel like I don't have to control them. I love sort of the intuitive, sort of flowy thing, and I never really try to make anything, concrete, but I just sort of let it be more like a background. So that feels a little bit better to me. So I might kind of play with that a little bit. We'll just kind of see. So these are them. And I'm going to cover them because I know I will stick my finger or something in there and I will make a mess because that's kind of how I roll. Um, so this is the paper. I know it's really bright, sorry, but hopefully we'll get some stuff on there and it won't be so much. The thing I think for me and with so many of the women that I work with is that when the anxiety comes up, is that for me, I go to like the biggest fear. And for me, the biggest fear with painting, whatever color kind of painting I'm doing, I feel like I have to paint the whole thing. Like, I know that's not like logical, but that's the fear, right? That the entire thing is going to have to be a beautifully painted picture, and if I screw up over here, I've screwed up the whole thing, and then it's going to look ugly, and I'm going to be disappointed, and I will never want to do it again. But we don't have to paint the whole thing. In fact, I've gone and I've taken a big piece of paper and I've already cut it down, and I've kind of created some squares in here that you can't really see. But this way, I can just focus on this little bit, or this, or this, or this, and I can do them all different. And I have a theory that if you've got like a big piece that, you don't really like, if you come and you cut certain parts out or you rip it up, then you end up with pieces that you do like. There's something that you will take away that you do like. And then you got to win, right? So that I think is really important too when you're in the anxiety of doing something new. The other thing that's probably like, duh. Well, of course, like you could do like a mixed media collage, which is why I brought a bunch of other papers. But I'm not kidding. It took me a couple days while I was thinking about like what I wanted to do with these paints to realize that I don't have to like, paint the whole thing. Like I could come in here and like do some collage, so I've got this is just paper that printer paper that I put into some coffee. I got paint all over me. Um, I've got some paper from books. I've got some more yellowy ones that kind of match. I've got some whiter ones. I brought some tracing paper, which is kind of fun to even sort of crinkle up and kind of get a little bit of texture on there and sort of put on. What else do I got? I brought some pages from a recent junk journal kit that I've got up on Etsy. It's called Watercolor Butterflies. It's kind of pretty and soft, and these are just printable pages that you can get. And so I did some of the ephemera pages. I printed them out because I figured those are kind of small. Like if I wanted to, cut something out. There's some pretty stuff in this one, and like these are some little, um, these are actually, if you cut them out, you can make envelopes, but like this could be kind of pretty, maybe of putting over most of the square and then painting something on top, that could be an option, right? So I don't have to rely all on me. So I might play with that a little bit and make it just more interesting because that's the other thing. Like if it was just me painting something, it's not going to be quite as visually interesting as if I do something more to it. Um, what I did too, also to reduce the anxiety, is I went onto Canva yesterday and I kind of played around with just some images. And if you don't know Canva, you can go online, you can sign up, it's free. They've got, you can kind of create a canvas and they've got, just images and things that you can pull. And I just looked at some really, really simple kind of abstract flower ideas just to get a sense. Like I could make it really simple, and that's what I'm going to do because I know if I tried to make something look really abstract, or just put lines and marks and stuff, it just wouldn't be right. It wouldn't feel right for me. I want something that feels a little sort of pretty and soulful, which is why I brought all the butterflies and such. So I've got that, but I've also got stuff like this. So this is actually like a little piece of mesh fence from my garden I got. But I could paint and put some texture, on there, which is kind of cool. And then I've got this, which is dirty, but I'll try to pull it out. It's just a little bottle top. And, I could make some little circles, on there. So that's kind of fun too. So lots of ways to play that take me out of the, oh my God, I have to paint it all, right? We don't. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's have a little fun. I will say, um, well, I'll tell you this story because it's kind of a funny story. So when there was one point a few years back that I went to one of those paint and wine, things where you go. So my mom and I went and the lady, who was teaching the class, we were doing like it was like this really just abstract, like colorful trees that kind of came along like this perspective. And I'm thinking I'm pretty creative. I mean, I make a lot of things, I don't do a lot of painting, but I definitely, make stuff. It'll be okay. My mom's really creative. Well, she passed away a few years back, but she was super, super creative. And so we get there and we do this thing, and hers came out looking fabulous. Almost everybody else's in the class came out looking fabulous, and mine kind of looked like I was like a preschooler just trying to do this. Um, and I'll stop just for a second. So this is just acrylic medium instead of glue. You could absolutely glue stuff down. I just kind of like it's just a little bit easier for me just to kind of quickly kind of get this stuff on there. Um, So anyway, my painting looked like um kindergartners painting, and we just laughed hysterically about that because um yeah, that's kind of how it came out. And we hung them up in the garage at our house, and every time I went over to see her, I would kind of laugh about that. But there was kind of a little inner story that got created, right? Of I'm not very good at this. Like this is just like everybody else kind of can do it. Like you can even do it with a glass of wine, and I couldn't seem to kind of get it together. So this is my distressing. So there was that, like, which is part of my, oh my gosh, I can't really paint, and what am I going to do? And like, how is this going to work? Inner story, where I think there's a lot of creative freedom and a lot of other, um, and a lot of other mediums for me. But painting makes me nervous. So I'm just going to kind of play with a little bit of kind of a layout here. And then I'm gonna, paint something over it. I'm not gonna kind of do that. So we all have those stories, which is what, comes up when we get to that point of like, oh crap, like I'm gonna, try to do something that I haven't done in 30 years, right? We're coming back in our 50s and 60s, and we're getting back into, creativity, and these old stories and these new stories come up that are just like in there, and we have to kind of combat them. And I think that just doing art like is part of the process of that. For me, like I will get to a point, I'm sure, like very any minute now, I'm gonna get to a point where I am gonna start to feel bad, like, like really feeling like I'm just really a failure at this. I'm like, this is just um not something that I can do. I'm gonna want to give it up. I'm gonna want to put it away. I'm gonna feel like a little, kid having a bit of a tantrum. And I know that's coming, right? That's part of the anxiety for me, is I know that I'm gonna hit that point. So I am gonna just keep kind of working past it, because um, all that's going to do is going to just reinforce that story. So let me just give myself and you permission that even if it looks kind of, we're going to keep going. Like, even if that, like, you just get to that point where like you just, that feeling of just, you kind of almost feel sick, or you get frustrated, like you just want to have a little tantrum. Let's keep going, because it'll be worth it in the end. We may not get something that's even like really pretty, but if we just keep following like our intuition, I mean, I really think that's kind of the key. If you follow your intuition a little bit and sort of let the process happen, something good is going to come out of it. We're gonna really like find our way here. I feel like I want something over there. I don't know what that's going to be though. All right, I'm just gonna kind of start with this. Start to put some of this down. Um, there's like this magical thing, I think, too, that happens as we get into our 50s and our 60s, right? Where we kind of we go through the sort of the menopause, phase, perimenopause and all that. And we do get to a point where we are caring less about what other people think. Um, it's here to kind of, and I love that, like, I don't really care what you think kind of attitude, especially when it comes to us reclaiming our art, our creativity, like the art for life, like creating an artistic life, where we start to follow our inner voice more than the external voice and the external validation. And it is just something that happens with menopause. I think menopause is this amazing alchemical thing that I love to help people to embrace, because we find our own voice again, our own way forward. And all of this, well, it's supposed to look like this. We're supposed to do it like this. We get to like really start to trust ourselves again, because I do believe all of that gets taken away from us in so many ways in our culture. We kind of meet the expectations that we're supposed to meet, and we kind of get put into, lives that don't always fully feel like us. And yet we just kind of keep doing it because that's what's there. And we refine ourselves, as we come back into this other phase where we kind of, we go invisible a little bit, and in that invisibility space, we have this freedom, to find ourselves. And so like a lot of times with clients, they'll be like, I just feel so invisible. And I'm kind of like, let's embrace that for a little bit. Let's use that time to, like really find yourself in that. Figure out like, what is your story? What is your voice? What are your ideas? What do you care about? And then that gets to be how you move forward. And there's that freedom in there of like, well, I don't really care what anybody else thinks. This feels right to me. So, I think that gets to be sort of the same. It's like we get to play with that almost like in our art too. Like there are so many beautiful Instagram artists and YouTube folks who are, doing stuff that just make it look so effortless. Like the lady at the wine and paint thing, she probably did that thing 100 times, who knows. It just was effortless, and it looks effortless on Instagram, but we have to kind of just like learn to follow our own way, and don't and if it doesn't look like that, it doesn't look like that. Anyway, I know I keep saying the same thing over, but it's just so important to me that we just listen to ourselves. All right. What else do I want to do? I'm going to kind of play with this thing over here and just sort of see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm gonna maybe take a little of this color. Let's do this. Let's just see. I don't know how this is going to work. You know what? I'm going to do a little test run. How about that? When in doubt, test it out, right? Not what I thought, but I'm going to take it. Let's just see. Give it a little texture over here. That's kind of fun. So, anxiety, let's keep talking about that. So, there's this part of me at the moment that is feeling really anxious about, well, something has to happen on top of this, and like, what am I going to do? So, I'm going to try my little Canva flower idea. Um, and I'm going to draw it first because that's not cheating at all. Um, and I'm just going to make something like as simple as possible. So I can just start, like I don't have to make it, I don't have to make it anything like right now. So here we go. Like I seriously, I feel kind of like anxious with this, but I'm going to do it anyway because so here we go. I'm gonna just kind of make sort of like this little wonky sort of flower thing over here. Isn't it crazy like how we can be afraid of art? Like I'm like afraid of ruining something that, is sort of a weird thing that looks kind of weird to begin with anyway. Like why am I afraid that I'm gonna wreck something when I haven't even like kind of gotten to it? So take your deep breath if you're playing along, like whatever you're gonna make, just kind of play. Like this is not an art lesson by any means. Um, I just want to kind of keep giving you permission to try something that, maybe makes you a little nervous, a little bit. I wonder if there should be like another little one over here. Do it. All right. So I have a little flower, two little flowers on there that I'm just gonna kind of see what happens. And I'm kind of hoping that they can be a little watercolory-ish. Um, sorry, I'm like reaching all over the place here. Here we go. Make it a little easier to get to. I'm gonna try to let this be a little watercolory. Just kind of dabbing. I did it. All right, I'm gonna dry this just because, again, I know me. I put my hands everywhere and it would just be a mess. So here we go. Right. Off my hands. So not bad. We're getting there. I'm gonna do the little stems now. All right, let's see what happens here. I'm kind of digging this. So here's the other thing that I want to kind of do. I want to come in here and maybe make a few little marks. Um, and I'm gonna kind of play it safe a little bit and not get too colorful. Again, I'm gonna test this a little bit and see what happens. So it's kind of a bluey black. Mm. All right, that'll do it for that. Let me just give it a, all right, not bad. Like I could leave it like that. Um, and here's my theory. I'm going to come back to my theory here, but I'm going to cover this because I will put my hand in that, I know. So if this comes off this big page, it's gonna look so much kind of cuter. I feel like I really want to rip it, but I don't think I can rip this paper. I don't have any kind of to try. Can I? Yeah, it's too rough to rip. Maybe if it was really dry, I wonder if I could kind of do it with a ruler. Yeah, that's better. Do I kind of like that look? Not so much. I think I'm just gonna cut it for now. Just kind of prove my point to myself here, and I'm just gonna cut this down. Even that kind of changes it, right? Could cut it here and cut it here. But for now, I'm gonna leave it like this. The other thing that I kind of feel like always makes a difference is to start to put some little marks in here. And I kind of laugh every time I do this because So this is my little Posca pen just to kind of get it going. You just kind of press into it until the paint starts flowing. But remember, I don't know if you did this when you were kids, well, a kid, but I used to put little dots around everything. And even though I do kind of like it without, do I want to do it? Again, there's that anxiety. Like, do I want to put some little dots on it? I guess I did it. I will go for it. I kind of always felt like as a kid when I would, write my name or do something, there would always be little dots all around, and dots just sort of made everything that much more special. And I kind of still feel that way. Like when I'm making my little just secret little bits of art, um, I always kind of love to just add little dots and things to it because it's fun. And I can kind of decide, later if I want to cut that off. I will. Let's just go for it. I will finish this sucker off and then we will call it a day because this to me is a win when it comes to fearless painting, of tackling the fear of working through that, like, oh my God, I'm going to screw it up and it's going to look horrible. I'm not any good at this. This is a super simple little thing that I think any of us can do. And it's not even straight. It's not even close. Um, but this could go onto a card. It could go, into like a journal. It could be like a little placeholder. It's just kind of cute and sweet and soulful. And to me, that's a win. Like, 30 minutes of just soulful making like this can do the heart good, and it can break through that anxiety, and it can break through all those old messages that we're not creative, we can't paint or sew or like whatever the thing is that we're doing, we can. So I hope that you will go and do some fearless painting and fearless arts and have fun.